Hello and welcome to GeekVerse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the GeekVerse Podcast Network. I'm your host, the Adam Hartcaster, Dylan Muss, and I have with me two guests today, which is not too often that has happened on Sidequest history. First, the anthologist, which I don't know if that's an actual term, but I like it nonetheless. Taylor Field, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Very good. Thank you for having me here in lieu of Travis.
Well, of course. Anytime you want to stop by. And then, of course, the prestiged Kirkland Patzer. Welcome as well. My friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's a crowded room today, but I think it'll be okay. You know, hopefully it's good company. No, I'm expecting good times.
Yeah, we have a very fun and spicy show today. I mean, first of all, you guys did a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 review that came out just a couple days ago. We're going to talk more about Call of Duty today, specifically Warzone 2. But we got some news. We got some other games to mention. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff today, and I'm excited to have both of you guys here. Next week, we're going to be doing Game Awards predictions. We're going to predict the winners of the categories, maybe some announcements as well. Kirkland, do you know if you're joining for the ad? I'm curious.
Yes, I think I am.
Okay.
Depending on time.
Okay, well, I was going to get your opinion on
cast, yeah.
a particular thing there, but since you're going to be joining us next week, I'll just ask you then. And then we got just a super loaded week of podcasts. We've got Andor, I think the finales this week, Glass Onion review, Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. We did a Prince of Persia retrospective for the movie. We're going to be talking about Prince of Persia today, so it's a good timing on that. And then at some point, it might not happen this week, but it might as well as God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast. At some point, me and Dante are going to sit down and discuss some more late game spoiler stuff with that game. So I don't know if that's this week, but keep an eye out for it because it's probably coming sooner rather than later. And then, other shout outs, make sure to subscribe to that SideQuest feed. It's a good time to do that as we got a lot of Game of the Year stuff coming up soon. Thank you to Taylor for the thumbnails and Amanda for the music. The Discord, the Patreon, all that stuff. As you know, go check out that stuff. Any other shout outs from you guys, or should we get right into it today?
I'm ready to tackle it. Let's get in there. Let's drop. Where are we dropping?
We're going to drop right into the games we've been playing. So on our list here, both you guys have Modern Warfare 2. Of course, you've been playing a lot of that. You did your review. First of all, I mean, that was a couple days ago. Other than Warzone, any other thoughts? Have you guys played any more? Anything you forgot to mention on the review that you got to bring up here?
Not so much. I feel like we kind of hit everything that I wanted to.
Juicy. It was like an hour and a half. It was like.
It was, yes, absolutely. I feel like maybe I was a little bit. I want to choose my wording carefully here because I was gonna say I was like a little too positive, but like it's not like I was like negative on it overall. It was mostly just like I think there was a couple other bug things that really bothered me, and I just kind of forgot about them while we were reviewing them. So, just certain like moments playing with some other friends, and like if you go into a party, it seems like every time if you're playing, I don't know if you've had this, Taylor, but like in multiplayer, if you're in a party and then someone like leaves, like usually the party host will leave the game and then everyone like leaves the game and joins them. That would happen, but every time we would like just like the party would get canceled and it was like super annoying. So I don't know. I haven't tested that because I haven't like partied up with anyone multiplayer yet. Taylor, we got to get on there sometime soon. But just like super annoying because it's like at first we didn't realize what was going on, and then all of a sudden someone goes into a game and then the other person isn't in there, and then you have to like back out, and then like 5 minutes is wasted. And it's just like really annoying when you want to just keep going in there and getting kills and just having fun on Call of Duty. So that's definitely something that's annoying to deal with. And then like again, some minor bugs here and there, whether it's just like getting to a game and my character is just like his gun is like a little bit sideways and then it doesn't really resolve itself. And again, it's not a game breaking bug because fortunately you get killed once and then you respawn and it fixed itself. I don't know if you've had anything like that, Taylor, but I haven't had any like crashes, which is nice. Yeah, so
I'm almost surprised. Like I feel like with Call of Duties, which are very iterative and things like that, I don't almost expect them to be just like completely bugless. And I know that doesn't happen, especially when they are on these tight constraints to make their games because they have to release them every November, right? And I know there's multiple studios in there, but that's good that you haven't had too many issues there.
Yeah.
Taylor, any other mentions from you? Or if not, we got another Call of Duty thing that we need to... It's very pressing, of course. But.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking into just kind of different things for Warzone. I was really trying to get into the just how the inventory works, like the backpack and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
Is that part of like regular multiplayer as well, or is that just a Warzone?
Oh, sorry, no, that's just a Warzone thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I was like,
But-
fuck, there's backpacks? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I are we getting more into like the Warzone stuff right now, or just like
No,
our-
we'll leave that
we'll
for
leave
later.
that.
So
Okay,
instead,
yeah,
let's
I'll
do
hold
this.
off.
So you guys mentioned on your review that you're like, oh, we should do a Call of Duty ranking, and then you're like, let's give ourselves 24 hours. We'll come back on Sidequest this week, and we will do that then. So let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Let's do it.
I think we can't all rank the exact same games, because I think Taylor's probably played almost all of them, but maybe not the earlier ones. I've played a lot less than you guys in general. So we'll just go one by one. You guys can rifle off your list. Who are either of you ready? Because if not, I can do mine. It might be a little more off the cuff, but
I need at least
many-
37 seconds left.
I was gonna say, because like I didn't include like any of them that I didn't own. Like really, like I feel like
Okay.
I dabbled a little bit in like Black Ops, one of them that my cousin had, just
Sure.
like playing zombies with him. But like I never owned it, so I wasn't even gonna include it on the list because I feel like that wouldn't be fair. Because I didn't play the whole campaign plus multiplayer and stuff like that. So I just kind of left those to the side.
you can
Like how big is your
include-
list still?
You can include whatever you want. So I'll go
Okay.
first, and you guys can keep thinking about your lists a bit more here. For me, I think I think I've not played. To be clear, I've not played a lot of the earlier ones. Like I think COD 4 was the first one I played. Once again, maybe dabbled in one of the other ones. I got friends with or something. And then Ghosts was the last one like that I bought on a yearly basis. And since then, the only thing I've played is Warzone. I guess 1 and 2, if we're counting those as separate entries, which they are. So I guess bottom of my list would be Ghosts. And honestly, you guys talked about this on your review as well, where Kirk is like, I actually liked that game. It was pretty fun. And for me, like, I don't know if I have any, like, I don't even know what my criticism would be of it. I think it was just like it came out, after Black Ops and stuff, and I was already kind of out of the series at that point. A lot of my friends weren't playing anymore, so I think I was just over the Call of Duty thing, and I got that like one last game just to try and grab onto that feeling again. And
One
I
last
just didn't
ride,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. One last ride. So I think it's not even that it's a bad game. I'll just have to kind of by default put it in last place. Moving up from there. Geez, where would I go next? I'd say this was tricky. I might go World at War next, and I love zombies in there. That was a lot of fun, but I think zombies got better in future games, and I never really cared much for the multiplayer in that one. I just don't like that. Those era of weapons I find less interesting because they're just slower and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'd go there. Next, I might put Warzone 2, and that's just because it's so new and I'm not like fully into it yet. And I would say right now I like Warzone 1 more. So that would be my next one. Moving on from there, this is where it gets a bit tricky. That's where I might put Warzone 1, and then up there I'd go to COD 4. And then I think so. The really what comes down to me for me is like the top two would definitely be Black Ops 1 and Modern Warfare 2. Just because Modern Warfare 2 was such an experience playing that at launch, where that was the age where like all of us have mentioned this before. It's like that every single person in our school like played this game, and after school, whether or not you were like on PS3 or Xbox, everyone would just come to school and talk about what they did the previous night in Modern Warfare. You'd be playing.
Imagine if we had
online.
cross-gen back then.
I know,
You know,
right?
these
Oh.
kids nowadays, they're
That
so
would've been a
spoiled.
Totally
Yeah.
different world. But yeah, it was like whether it was the hunting for nukes and like bragging about the nukes you got, whether it's just playing at your friend's house, watching each other battling on Rust. And for me, it's like that game was so bad in a lot of ways mechanically, and that's what made it so special. When the era of the model 1887, just the broken akimbo shotguns that just dominated the meta, and then they patched that out. And then there was the glitch with like that grenade launcher thing. I forget what that was. What was that like? I
Oh,
can't remember. It was like that thing that takes down airplanes, but then there was like some glitch with it, right? What was that?
Oh, I forget what it's called. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, though, like the exploit. I think they eventually bugged it, but
I-
man, what an
I
era.
Think, I think they eventually got rid of it, but it was like going through the arrows of that game and all that broken stuff was so enjoyable at the time. So, but I think I might give it second, and I think Black Ops might take that number one slot for me for a couple reasons. I still really enjoyed the multiplayer. I don't remember much of the campaign, to be honest, but I think for me, the multiplayer was like those modes. Like One in the Chamber, gun game were really fun. The maps. I have a distinct memory of me and one of my buddies. We'd always play together, and particularly that summit map, the one with like the chairlift.
Oh yeah.
Where we would both use UAV, and then what was the like? Was it called Harrier? Like the better UAV that like gave you live tracking.
Advanced UAV, I think that's what it
Yeah,
was called.
it was like at 6 or 7 kills or something like that. And we
Oh yeah, it was like the Blackbird SA-71.
Yeah, that
that's
sounds
what it was.
correct.
Yeah.
And we would both put on UAV and that, and we would just like feed into each other, right? Where like one guy would get a good start, get the UAV, that would lead to the next UAV, lead to that. So we would just like be on either sides of the map, knowing exactly where everyone is, and we would just destroy. Like I'm talking like 30, 40 kills a game, like each. Like we would
That's
go
awesome.
ham. That was great. And then I think once again the thing that pushes it above is that I absolutely loved zombies in that game. I've spent so many hours grinding on Kino der Toten, all the one with the rocket ship where that flies off. I don't remember the name.
Oh,
of anything.
Ascension. Yeah.
Ascension, good old Ascension. So I don't think I got all the DLC anyway, but man, just like those memories are great, and that was also mechanically a very cool game. A lot more customization you could do as well. So I think that's
Right on.
my list. Did that give you guys enough time to?
Oh,
make a
absolutely,
list?
yeah. I added one that I didn't technically own, but I feel like I have enough like playtime on. Again, that was my example with Black Ops 2. So
All right, give us
hint,
give us
hint,
your
that's on my
ranking,
list.
Kirkland.
Yeah, so I got 11 Call of Duty games on my list.
Nice.
So right at the bottom, I put Call of Duty 3. I think that was like Xbox 360, and I don't remember playing like I don't even know if it had like multiplayer online in that game. I really can't remember. If it did, I didn't play it at all. I just remember playing split screen with friends, and
If it was 360, it must have, but yeah, maybe it wasn't like maybe it didn't
Yeah.
have good matchmaking yet or something like that.
maybe, yeah. It definitely wasn't like the full extent as to what the Call of Duty 4 was. Like I feel like that was like the first one in the series that really like everyone was playing like multiplayer online, TDM or whatever game modes it was. So yeah, Call of Duty 3. I remember. I think that was the first one that had like vehicles too, and you could play it on split screen. So it was just like really
interesting.
hectic
Okay.
playing with friends and just a lot of great times. So I wanted to put it on my list. At the bottom, just because again, minimal memories. I probably played it like for over one summer, but like in my mind, I just thought that it was like that effect looking back on life. And then second last, I put Ghosts here. I didn't want to put it right at the bottom because, like I said, I feel like I might be an apologist for this game, and maybe I'm just remembering it better than it actually went. Just because that was my first PlayStation 4 game. Like I got the bundle with it, so of course that was like the only thing I was grinding at the time, and it just first like next gen game in there. It just looked really good too, so I was probably just like, man, this is next gen, like this is crazy what they're doing now. So yeah, I have Ghosts, and then number 9 I have Black Ops 2. That was the one I was mentioning. I didn't technically own, but my cousin just like brought his system over. We played it all the time and had lots of fun just playing zombies. I never played like online or anything like that, but that's the effect that zombies has.
That's true.
Number 8 I have Modern Warfare 3. Kind of low on my list. I feel like from that one I did have a lot of fun with it, and it did bring a lot of cool things to the genre that was different from like Modern Warfare 2. But I feel like I was just like, oh, the next Modern Warfare is out, and then because I love Modern Warfare 2 so much, like going into that one, it just felt like a significant step down. And like, I don't know, maybe it was just because like, oh, I got to do this again, or like I'm not going to recapture that glory that was MW2. So a little bit lower on my list. And then number 7, I have the original Call of Duty on PC. Just so much fun playing that as a little kid, and that was one that like my dad played too. So like we would just talk about like certain missions. Again, it was all a campaign. Like there was no multiplayer or anything like that.
Is
But
that the one
that's
you
what
guys played on the stream? Was it number 1?
that was number 2, I
That was 2,
think.
okay.
Call of Duty 2, yeah. Number 1 was even more janky. That was where like you didn't actually regen health. Like you had to find health packs on the map. So
yeah.
just a whole era, and I love it so much. So this is my top 5 now. Number 5, I put the latest Modern Warfare 2 2022
Ooh,
version.
nice.
Taylor and I, yeah, we ranked it yesterday, and I'm loving it so much. I'm having such a good time. Taylor, I was mentioning my buddy Tyler, who was like on the fence about it today. He texted me today. He's like, I'm getting it as soon as I get home.
Nice.
He probably listened to our review about it, but yeah, no,
Love it.
he's probably playing that right now, so I hope he's having fun. And then above that one, number 4, so I have Warzone 1 here, just specifically Warzone 1. I didn't own Modern Warfare, but God, just so many endless fun nights. You guys were a part of a lot of those too, so just lots of great times, a lot of laughs, a lot of cries probably. Number 3, I have COD 4 here. I think that was the first Xbox 360 game I actually bought, so it's funny, a lot of firsts in the Call of Duty genre for me, my consoles, but just so many great times on it. I feel like I wasn't like like there was like a generation above me, like maybe a couple of years, that just like that was their peak Call of Duty, not Modern Warfare 2, and I was just like entry level to it. That was probably like, I don't know, like I said, I played the earlier ones, but that was like the next gen on PS3 or whatever it was, Xbox 360.
I feel like that one, because things hadn't gotten too crazy yet. And so it
Yeah,
was just
true.
like a simpler game, but it was so mechanically sound, like great
Yeah.
level design, like great variety of weapons and stuff, that I feel like if I was ranking like what are just the best mechanical games in the series, that one might
Yeah.
be number one, I think.
And that was probably my favorite story mode too. Like that one
Yeah,
level,
that's
all
true.
gillied up. Like that was just
Oh,
such
yeah,
a
classic.
iconic level at the time. I don't think there's like a war game that really had one out there like that. So, yeah, COD 4 number 3, and then number 2 I have the original Black Ops here. It was just so phenomenal. That was one like I don't even think I owned it initially, but then I just playing zombies with friends. It's like I gotta get this game. Like it's so good, and wasn't disappointed. Zombies, it was just taken to a whole another level on there. I feel like I missed one. Oh yeah, I forgot to say World at War. That was number 6.
Okay, yeah.
Just great time setting off the Nazi zombies and all that. But so yeah, Black Ops 1, number 2, and then number 1 without a doubt, Modern Warfare 2, 2009. I've probably ranted on so many different episodes throughout the throughout the years. Just I love that game so much. It was everything Dylan said and then some. Like it just totally captured like an era of my life and all my friends' lives, and yeah, just great time. So
Love it.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
What about you, Taylor?
So right at the bottom of my list, Call of Duty Ghosts, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. This game deserves to be at the bottom of the fucking barrel. Like as an entry level COD on next gen consoles, just absolutely horrendous. Shouldn't have been a thing.
Wow.
This game, like aim down sights is one thing, but the amount of bullshit that this game has is just, it's through the roof. So that's at the bottom of the barrel.
Wait, why do you say aim down sights? Can you like not do that or something?
Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. So in the context, like aiming down sights is, it's obviously a big thing in Call of Duty ADS, and so with this, the ADS is like unreal, like beyond. When I say unrealistic, I know Call of Duty's not particularly a very realistic game to a degree, but it's like superbly like foreignly unrealistic. It's just like zip, and then the rate of fire is even more like. Yeah, it's just bonkers. The ADS linked with the firing mechanics, and then the amount of durability, because yes, it's Call of Duty, and when I say it's not realistic, one bullet, that's realistic. And this, I don't want it to be one bullet and I die in Call of Duty. I need to have a little
Like
bit of like
Counter-Strike if we're looking for that.
yeah. So there's that at the end of the list.
Gotcha.
COD 3. Now, this is something I played very, very limited enough about, but enough that I could still rank it on the list here. So that would be my next one. COD 4. This is something that, again, it's just, I never grew up with that one, so I got on late for that. And when I went back and played it, I never could really jive and get on board with it. And I never went and played the campaign for it either. So it's just.
Oh, you should do that.
I know.
I would
Yeah.
love to hear you go back and play that campaign, because I feel like that would hold up.
I'm tempted to
Do a
maybe
retro
buy
on
the
it, Taylor.
Well, they have the remastered version,
Yeah.
so maybe it's something I'll do at some point here.
We should do
so.
that, especially now we're like totally peaking Call of Duty right now. Just start retroing some old COD games. Why not?
I'd be
replay
down.
COD 4 campaign. That sounds
Short enough, you could power it out in a couple settings or whatnot.
One night, just
not a
go at
veteran
it.
though. I'm not doing that anymore.
No deaths. You have to restart.
Oh god, hardcore mode.
Next up is COD World War II. This one was an extreme disappointment. I feel like where we were going with the future setting and other COD games, I feel like, okay, we were going backtracking here to World War II, and this was just really upsetting. And while the futuristic settings was okay, I definitely didn't mind it. And there's one that's actually an underdog that is in my top 5 that I loved. World War II was just, the mechanics didn't feel smooth, didn't play right, and thus it sits in the bottom 5. The next one is Cold War. This one was just more a shocking appeal. Well, I did get the hang of the multiplayer, and I really did enjoy it. It was the fact that, okay, Modern Warfare 2019 had dropped. This game was like fantastic. And then we had Warzone that dropped. And then we got Cold War that dropped. And different game engine, very hard to just kind of jive back in. It at times felt like Black Ops, but just a little unrefined. Really didn't like it at the start of the launch. So this was where, okay, I'm just participating in this game simply for the benefits of Warzone, to get the guns, rank them up, level them up, all that kind of indulgence. So that's it sits there. Vanguard, this one came after Cold War, definitely got better. We're back in World War II here, but this time around it felt more like COD 2019's Modern Warfare, and I really did enjoy this one a lot. The multiplayer felt pretty good too, and again, mostly just did it for the benefits of Warzone, just to get those guns ranked and everything like that, to stay meta and all that fun stuff. MW3 is the next one up here. This one was more on the hype end for me, but I will admit that this was also the time when I went to Battlefield 3 because Battlefield 3 was just raging hard, and it's like, oh, this is a good game. This is a really good game. That's where all my friends were playing, was Battlefield 3, and it was just super hype. But Modern Warfare 3 was definitely pretty good multiplayer experience that I was indulging in there. Black Ops 4 would be the next one here. This one was just getting a little too it's good, but it's definitely not good enough.
It's still clearing like 4 or 5, 6 games on the list. It's pretty impressive still.
Yeah, and I would probably put it. I put it here because of just the zombie kind of component. Because I'm pretty sure it's Black Ops 4 that had. It's either Black Ops 4 or 3. Can't remember. One of them had the zombie campaign where you beat the campaign and then you go back and play through the whole thing, and it's reskinned with zombies.
That's
mingled
cool.
in,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty cool. Yeah,
That's cool. I feel like I didn't know that.
I think it was Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 also did have Blackout, the Battle Royale version in there, which I do think it was trash because the map was fantastic. I love the map, but just dealing with having to heal yourself and all that shit, it was so fucking hard. Oh my god.
Man, they need to release, because I remember there was that, I think it was like a DLC for Black Ops or something that was like all the zombie maps in one.
Yes.
They need to release just Call of Duty Zombies, just all 10, 12, 15 maps that we have now. All of those in there, maybe some progressions, you can level up between them.
That would sell well, too.
Man, that would be I think the one thing that would make me buy Call of Duty, because I'll jump into Warzone, sure, why not? But I don't know if I'll buy one again. I'd drop 80 on that for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do it.
They really
Get it done, Activision.
They really went to town in Cold War with the whole zombies thing, much more open world, kind of like this whole map. You do objectives with your squad, hop into vehicles, and you got zombies,
That's
hordes of them
crazy.
everywhere.
Vehicles and zombies? Whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Next up would be the first Black Ops. This one was getting pretty good here because the nostalgia, you have there dealing with the zombies kicking in, because you have the Pentagon, you have all these other cool levels Kino to Toten, and you have the map packs coming out, which brought the World at War zombie maps back in here, but they were upgraded because you had the updated perk sets that were incorporated in these zombie modes. So it was super awesome. The newer guns too, and just you could implement your old strategies and all that stuff, and it was super fantastic. It gets a little convoluted for me trying to remember which zombie maps were in which games, but I'm pretty sure this one, because it had Ascension, and I think it had was it Call of the Dead or something like that?
I think there was a science lab level that I never really got into.
Yeah, there was the Lighthouse, I think, in this one.
Lighthouse? I don't remember that.
And it had George Romero was the main zombie walking around, following you. That map was so cool. Holy shit. Maybe it was a Black Ops 2, but I think it was maybe...
All I ever needed was
remember.
Kino and Ascension.
Yeah.
I'm good on those two.
But yeah, those zombie maps were just absolutely killer for me. And going up from
that was my favorite. I
Shino
remember
Numa was
that.
so
That was the
good.
first one with the dogs, I think, and it had the Wunderwaffe.
Oh yeah,
sweet naming gun. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get that ray gun and you upgrade it, that was so much fun.
Cheesing.
Yeah, and that was Black Ops 1. Black Ops 3 would be the next one. Black Ops 3, this is the game that really kind of steered me into more of an embrace of the multiplayer aspect, really trying to amp up my own game and get more competitive. Infinite Warfare, this one gets shit on a lot, but it's one that I actually do enjoy, the multiplayer and all that jazz. This is the game where I had many people be like, oh, 1v1v or 1v1 me.
1v1v.
Yeah. And I indulged, and holy shit, this is where I was able to kind of really focus more on my sniping skills. And then Black Ops 2 after this, That one's just an absolute gem. I got my collector's edition for that. Or sorry, no, my hardened edition. Collector's edition came with I think the drone or something. But yeah, cool stuff. Top 5. World at War. This one is just pure nostalgia because you got the OG zombies in there. It was great. I really did enjoy playing the campaign, and I did really enjoy playing the multiplayer as well. Number 4, MW2 2009. This one is pure nostalgia. Those maps were absolutely peak. I love those levels. I love just customizing the guns, all the stuff that this game did. It was great, and the memories I have, I will cherish forever. So thank you very much, Call of Duty 2009. Number 3, Advanced Warfare. This one is very much an underdog game. This is where they introduced the exosuits with double jumps and everything like that in Call of Duty, and fuck, I loved it.
Like ninja swords too, didn't they? Didn't they have
Yeah,
like
there
like,
was.
God, what game is this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
was
full story.
such a good Call of Duty game. The campaign was fantastic. I really liked it. I'm pretty sure too they had Jon Snow, Kit Harington actually play a character in here.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah, it was just a overall great game. Number 2, COD Modern Warfare 2019. This game, from the moment I played it, I just felt such a magic that I hadn't felt before. It was just incredible, absolutely incredible. And then getting into Warzone was just through the roof because I was like, holy shit, I'm back in 2009 with you guys. This is absolutely amazing. And this is something I mentioned to Kirkland too on the review. Going years and years of just like talking like games and movies with you guys in the podcast and just being shat on every time I talk about COD map pack. It was so nice to finally have everyone together and just play COD. It was so great. And then the number 1 is Modern Warfare 2 2022. This game is just
Number
it's
1?
fantastic. I put it
Is
as
that
my
what you
number
said?
1.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Crazy.
god!
Yeah,
Crazy.
I'm really, really loving everything it's doing, and I got the hook. I got the bug. I can't stop. I got to get that next prestige. Otherwise, what am I doing with my life?
Are you gonna get the polyatomic or whatever the hell it's called?
This is the first time I'm actually really considering gunning for it. I'm trying to get, like I've said it many times, trying to get all my golds, marksman rifles, and then I'll work towards platinum and then
Dylan,
poly.
If you didn't know, the poly skins are like once you get gold on like all of them of a genre, then you unlock like a new set of skins, and it's probably really hard to get. It takes a long time, but Taylor's going for it.
Interesting.
And I believe in him. You got a couple gold ones already, don't you?
I have I'm about to unlock my 3rd, and then I'm also working on my 4th. I'm doing 2. The EBR I'm trying to work on right now.
Nice.
It's a pain in the ass.
You can do it.
Now, I'm curious because I, don't use the number system anymore. I'm going to spoil your review. You gave it an 8, and it's your number 1 Call of Duty. So you're saying the highest
That's a good
rating
point.
you would ever give a Call of Duty game is 8, or is that not how you're ranking? Would you give a previous game for nostalgia a higher rating? This is where the number system is a mess. I'm so confused by this.
It's now a
Or
10
is- or
overnight.
have you
He
changed in the
stewed on
last
it.
day? You've like thought about it more, and you're like, you know what?
A lot of those games are definitely based on nostalgia, and where I rank them, like, are they perfect in terms of mechanics and everything like that? No, definitely not, because they've definitely hit a lot of roadblocks with them. But as far as the way like these Call of Duty games have felt and the way I can maneuver and I can handle and everything like that, like Modern Warfare 2 has reached a point where there's so many little details in a regular round of team deathmatch that I can really appreciate. Aside from it looking really, really good, I just really like the feels of the guns, everything that they've kind of incorporated. Like we were talking on the review, Kirkland, where you just pop your assault rifle to the side and whip your sidearm out. Like it's just, there's so many cool little things. Jumping on the wall and just reaching over with your sidearm. Like they have a lot of really cool little implemented components. And it's just, I appreciate that level of detail because, well, a lot of other games, you can tell that it's just, hey, our yearly quota is up. Let's pump out Cold War. Let's pump out Vanguard. And other games like Black Ops, while they do have good components to them that I like, they just lack in other areas, or they get a little too wacky with where zombies is nowadays. So Modern Warfare 2, it's simple, refined, and cohesive, and everything it needs to be for me.
Love it. Well, we will come back and talk more about Warzone 2 specifically later on in the show. But for right now, let's take our very first break. That was a lot of fun doing that Call of Duty ranking right there. And who knows, maybe we got a retro on the horizon. It sounds like we got to go back and do some old stuff there. So let's take our first break. Okay, we are back. I have a couple games I wanted to shout out here that I've been playing. First off is this game called Somerville. It might be Somerville. I'm going to go ahead and say Somerville, though. This was announced, I want to say a while ago, but we finally got the release date here. This is available on through Game Pass. This is from the co-founder of Playdead. So he made and worked on Limbo and Inside. And this is he started a new studio, and he's working on this. So yeah, Kirkland, you've played I think both of those games, right?
I played both, mostly Inside. I dabbled a little bit in Limbo. I think Limbo was the first one, and then Inside. But Inside was my first like indulging of the, I guess the studio's games, and fell in love with it. It's one of my favorites.
For sure. So I mean, I've not played Inside, but I love Limbo, and I know Inside has received tons of praise. So I was looking forward to this one, and it's got a very similar vibe. I think the biggest change up here is that it is a 3D game instead of 2D. So, but it's still like the camera is still very much on the side, and you're seeing the level in a very similar way. But now you can obviously like walk into the background and things like that as well. But it plays very similarly in that it's like a very simple moveset, kind of simple problem solving. I gotta say, I loved the introduction to the game. It's just this long sequence where it says very zoomed out of you and your family just driving the car. I mean, at the time, you don't know there's a family in there. It's just a car driving down this road, very moody, very ominous, and then it like slowly zooms in over the course of like 2 minutes until you're like right there with the car, and then your family parks and you're at this like vacation home. Whether it's your home, it's kind of unclear because, of course, these games don't really have dialogue. It's kind of you're just kind of more in that world and living it. But I very quickly bounced off of it, unfortunately. And I think for me, it was like, it was the same problem, but on two ends of the spectrum. So the very first thing was you're like in the house and you get to like, you're controlling like the family's toddler. And I had no idea what to do. I spent like 10 minutes. It's a very small house. I walked around. I tried to interact with everything in these games. You don't have like a lot of interact buttons. Usually just like going up to something, right? I could not figure out what to do. I was about to look up a guide in the first room of the game. I was about to look up a guide, and then I figured out the thing. So I was like, okay, well that was not good. I feel like some play testing could have happened here to ensure that didn't happen. But then after that, it was like the complete opposite issue where every room I was going into, just like everything you're supposed to do, whatever like the whatever that's a platformy thing or a little puzzle, everything like whatever you're supposed to do just has like this big yellow piece of paint drawn on it, right, to like show you where to go. And I just found like I very quickly bounced because I just didn't have to think at all. It was just like, okay, I walk into a new room, I interact with the thing that's yellow, and then I go on with my day. And I don't know, it just felt like a very unrefined experience. It was very messy, so unfortunately I had to bounce on that one. But it's like a bigger indie release, so I wanted to talk about it even if I only played for half an hour and then uninstalled it from my Xbox. But thankfully it is Game Pass, because if I bought this and then I was stuck with it, I think I would have been pretty salty. But instead I could just hop in for an afternoon and check it out. So there you go, there's Somerville. And then the other game I wanted to mention, of course, I'm playing a ton of Grounded, but Obsidian is just crushing it, and they released another game this month, which is Pentiment. Of course, that was announced at the Xbox Showcase back in June, so very short, announcement to release date. And it's cool because like Obsidian being part of Xbox and Game Pass now are able to make smaller experiences like this where they subdivide their team a little bit and maybe get 20 people working on Grounded, which is crazy that there's so few people that made that game. It's amazing. And then another small team to make Pentiment, which is very Obsidian-like in terms of the RPG elements to it. But this is kind of a goofy game. It's very much like the aesthetic is an old school kind of book, and you're going through it, and even the menu is like turning pages. If you go to a new screen, it like turns a page, that kind of thing. And the hook of this is that it's a murder mystery. You're in this small town in the Middle Ages. And there's a murder that goes on, and you're tasked to go figure out what's going on. And I've quite enjoyed my time with this, and I've just finished the first act, which maybe took between like 4 and 6 hours, something like that. It's an interesting game. I like there's like a timing element to it where you can only do a certain amount of things in a day, which makes it hard to solve the murder because you can't just spend all the time in the world to investigate every clue or talk to every character multiple times. And that adds like some tension to it where you can only pick certain things. I also like that it's kind of split to like morning, afternoon, and then like night when you're supposed to go to bed. And then in between that, you have your meals. And for each meal, you like go pick which character you want to eat with essentially, and then you like have a conversation over dinner or over lunch, which I thought was a very like fun mechanic. To add a little bit more time to have these conversations with these characters. I think one thing that's kind of strange about the game is, like I said, 4 or 6 hours in, whatever it is, finish that first act. At the end of that is when I, got all the time I had for clues, and I had to essentially accuse someone. And even when I was accusing them, I was like, I don't really know. I'm like, maybe this person, maybe this person. I was just sussing everyone out in this poor town. And then the judge, whatever, like picked who, whatever the most compelling case was, I guess, that I had given. They chose who they wanted to execute for the murder. And interestingly, like the game just like time skips there. Like your character leaves the town and like goes off for many years. And the way I'm guessing it goes is that like you do not actually know who the killer was until you're done the whole game. So like a couple other acts through this thing, you're gonna come back to this town and probably figure out there's probably more layers to it, donut holes and donuts, Knives Out style kind of thing. So I don't know. I almost wish it was like a shorter experience and I got the conclusion of it now, because now that I know that there's like, I don't know, another 10 hours or something for me to go through this thing, I don't know if I'm wanting to do that. Like I'm feeling pretty happy with the game time I put in there. And plus, this is a side note. It's weird because, we played Call of Duty on the weekend. I'm playing other stuff where I'm hitting all sorts of buttons. My hands are fine. I don't usually have hand pain. For some reason, all you're doing is like hitting, what is it, normally a button. I change it to the trigger to just like progress the text. There's a lot of text in this game. And like my hand just like is killing me playing this game, tapping this button over and over again. So I also, maybe not wanting to go through another 10 hours of hand pain to play this game.
Yeah.
So there you go. I had to talk about Pentiment because I'm a huge Obsidian fan is what I was trying to say. I don't think this is my favorite one of theirs, but it's still a cool idea, and I'm glad that they are in a point where they can make weird little games like this within their larger studio. But any questions or any thoughts on Pentiment? I don't know if you guys have seen this one. Taylor, I don't know if you've seen this on like Xbox, Game Pass, obviously, if you've downloaded it or checked it out or anything.
I didn't notice it until you asked me to on the thumbnail, actually, and then in retrospect,
okay.
I was like, oh, actually, no, okay, I have seen this kicking around. But yeah, no, it's I definitely like Obsidian titles, so I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, you're channeling your inner Detective Benoit Blanc, right? As that's his character, and yeah, Glass Onion, Knives Out. No, it's unfortunate that you don't like get the result like right away, because I feel like I would be the same. That I don't know. I understand sometimes in games you don't always get it right, but sometimes if I'm like I really want to find out what it is, and if I have to wait that long, it definitely could maybe dismotivate me from like progressing on forwards.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do is really make you sit with the consequence, because I almost feel like I didn't feel like I was really that close. Like there was one person who I was pretty sus on, but even then it seemed like the kind of red herring in the game, so I didn't want to go with it. So I almost feel like no matter what, you're probably going to get that first murder mystery wrong, but then when you come back to the town, you'll figure out more. And part of it is that like, okay, I gave some evidence against this person. They lynched that person. I can almost guarantee you this one lady that got lynched for it did not do it. I threw a bit of sus on her, but I'm like, I don't think it was her, but she has a bit of motive. But so I think that's the idea partially, is that you're like, man, I got this person killed pretty much. Like I didn't choose and I was not the executioner, but I definitely like threw some sus on them. So I think that's part of it. And because it's Obsidian, like the RPG stuff here is really good. Like you're through conversations, you're picking, like this is actually really cool. Rather than like picking a class at the beginning, you are like having a conversation with someone and he's like, oh, where did you study? And then you tell him what college you went to, and then you tell him what you study, and that like determines what your stats are essentially. You don't have like strength and intelligence and things like this, but it determines like what your character is knowledgeable on. And then you might, if something comes up with biology, because I studied biology, I might have a more clue, or I can get more information out of this thing.
That's cool.
I think it's pretty smart the way it sets up your character backstory just through conversations in the game. So yeah, if you're a murder mystery fan, I think this is absolutely one to check out, even if I don't know if I'm going to see it through to the end. But it's Obsidian, so you got to check it out.
Absolutely.
Right now.
I always love when games do like a a fresh take on like that character creation sequence, whether it's like building your backstory or whatnot. That's something I'm really looking forward to Starfield for, as just like your different backstories and things like that. So that's really cool that it is pretty innovative in that sense. So you're just having a conversation, then depending on what your experience in life would have been for your character, it makes sense that you'd be more knowledgeable in those areas. So yeah, I like that.
There you go. Those are the games that we've been playing. Let's move on to the news. So, have you guys seen this? That the latest character, Marvel's Avengers, is not dead. It's still going strong, and they have a new character coming out. They have Bucky coming. Did you guys see this?
Oh wow!
I did.
No,
yeah.
I did not.
Did you see a picture, Taylor?
No, I just saw the
Okay,
headline.
I want to get your guys' live perspective on. Don't look it up, Kirkland. I'm gonna put it on
okay.
screen here because he has. I don't know. Just what do you think about this? Look of this character here.
That's not Sebastian Stan, that's for sure.
I'm trying to zoom in. I can only zoom in so much.
He looks like a villain to me.
This is not.
I don't know what it is.
Zoom
The dark
in.
eyes.
I don't know.
It's like no matter
It's
how
just
much you
like-
zoomed in, the image stayed the same.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Shouts to Polygon. I don't know. I mean, just like I know they wanted to do distinctly different people from like MCU. They didn't want it to look like that.
Yeah.
And this game got a lot of flack for its character designs, but I think they just completely missed the mark with Bucky. He looking like a cryptid or something like that.
He reminds me of Dastan from Prince of Persia.
Dastan.
He's got a bit of Dastan in him.
Prince Dastan. Oh gosh. I mean, the arm helps. If you didn't have the arm
Yeah,
there, I would
it's-
have no idea who that character is
It's
whatsoever.
pretty obvious with the arm, but
Yeah.
he just has a weird looking face.
I feel like I don't even know like what he looks like out of a comic book. I'm imagining it looks pretty similar to like
Right.
what this general design would be, whether it's this or the Sebastian Stan of like
Yeah, 'cause
long hair,
even in like
white
Ultimate
dude.
Alliance 3, he looks pretty close to Sebastian Stan. Like it's it's not like they're trying to make a look-alike, but it's definitely
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they actually had good casting there. Like he looks pretty alike.
They should have had the mask on him. I feel like
Yeah, I
that
was
would
gonna
help
say,
a
looking at
lot.
like the comic here, like some of these iterations, he's got the mask. That would have just like sealed it a little bit more for me.
Yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, I know
Spring
you guys have not
Soldier.
played a bunch of Avengers. I'm gonna assume that this character is not the one that is gonna get you in. I think if anything, it was gonna be like Kate Bishop for you, Kirkland, or
Jane was
Taylor,
close
I feel
too.
like there's Iron Man or something that would have got you in there, but obviously if you haven't jumped in yet, I don't think this is
It's
the one that's
installed
gonna
and it's
push
just
you over.
sitting on my hard drive, just
It is on
waiting
Game
to
Pass,
go.
yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
One Warzone patch and that game is off.
No kidding.
It is like 60, 70 gigs, so it's you
Oof.
can't. That's a big one to just have sitting on your hard drive. I'm surprised, Taylor.
I put it
surprised.
there as like motivation for me to play it. But when I boot it up, when I boot up my console, I look at all my games. Like, what am I feeling like today? I see it there. I'm like, oh, I should play it. And I'm like, nope, Call of Duty.
Yeah, Call of Duty.
Is there a character that would guarantee you guys would check it out? I mean, Kirkland might be different for you because you'd have to buy it, but Taylor to like actually boot it up. Is there one character?
Oh, Dylan. Is
would
there
Ghost
ever
Rider
one
do it?
character? Ghost Rider would seal it
Would you
for me.
download the game? Would you?
I'd
open
buy
it?
the game. I go and buy the game.
Buy
from
it?
the
What
store.
the- oh my god! You should save your money, play it on Game Pass, and use that money to buy a Ghost Rider skin or something because they're like
There
$20
you
or
go.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Spidey probably should have been that one for me.
True,
Like
yeah.
that was a cool release. Even Black Panther, that's really cool that they had him in there. Kate Bishop would be really cool, but I feel like that would be one that I'd get excited for if I already had the game. It wouldn't really
Yeah.
make me want to drop full price on it. Honestly, I'm gonna just come out and say it's Silver Surfer. I feel like if that comes out, that
be
would
cool.
that would definitely pique my interest. And again, it would have to depend on like how fun it really is to play around with him and to see his movesets or whatnot. But I think that could be really sweet. Just
Yeah.
getting my hands on a Silver Surfer, especially like the game looks really good from what I've seen. So it's just it didn't have that oomph effect to get me through the door. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've always said. Like, outside of like all the issues the game has, like the character movesets and the gameplay of it is fantastic. Like all the characters
Yeah.
are fun. And at some point, I did jump in there and try out Spider-Man and Black Panther and Jane Foster and all these characters. But yeah, I don't think this is a character that would get me back in there. If they release She-Hulk in the future or something like that, which I think is a rumored one, I would definitely check out Bucky at that point. But I think I had to get rid of it off my PS4 to make room for other stuff, and so I don't think I'd be going out of my way to get in there for Mr. Bucky there. But moving on, so as I mentioned at the top of this cast, we recently did Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time retrospective for the movie, not the game. But there's been a little bit of news, or maybe the opposite of news, for the game, the remake, which has been in the works for a bit. So at some point, I didn't realize this happened, but at some point the game was delayed just indefinitely, so they don't really know. And then it shifted to a new developer. That's the part I didn't know. Did you guys hear about that detail? That they had taken it from whatever house was making it and given it to, I think, like Square Enix Montreal or something like that.
I just saw it in the show notes, that's all.
Yeah, but I guess the recent change with this, because that all happened a few months ago, was that they like issued a report that was like, we're still making it, it's still coming, but we're gonna refund your pre-order. So I was like, it sounds odd that like you're canceling this game and just don't want to say it right now. But I don't know. This seems like kind of a peculiar thing to happen. Do you guys have any thoughts as to why they would be issuing the refunds on the pre-orders now if they're still going ahead and they're still going to release it?
It seems like they have absolutely zero faith this will actually see the light of day if you're doing a move like that, because if you have the pre-orders and you are intending to get the game out there, like I feel like that's just kind of supporting the development, right? Like getting money in. But if you're doing that, I don't know, it's also just this like shadow of like, I feel like there's been a lot of layoffs in that sort of industry as of late throughout whether they're closing studios or just, again, people are just getting laid off. It's the time of the time. That's the change of the times. I don't know what I was trying to say there. But yeah, like that, maybe that's it. Like they can't guarantee that they'll just be up and running for the next however long, even though on like the ground floor you're supposed to be business as usual. I feel like I've kind of been in a job like that. Right. Oh, we all have Target, Rest in peace, Target Canada. So I would hope that is the case, that they are still working on it. But how how much would that suck, just being a developer and it's like, I don't think this game that I'm working on 10 hours a day for like however long is ever going to see the light of day. Like that's I would want to just do my own project at that point, like do something that you have a lot of passion on. If it's never going to see the light of day, it's unfortunate and sad.
Any thoughts on this, Taylor?
If I was working for this company here and I was seeing that, my company is pulling the money away and just giving the refunds back to people that pre-ordered, I'd be checking my paychecks. I'd be like, checking to see if those checks are being deposited in my bank account and everything, because it's super sus. Because you're right, Kurt.
Really? Is that refund coming out of my paycheck?
Yeah.
Where's the refund coming from?
The money is being paid and used into the works and everything of this game. So I mean, to have refunds occur for pre-orders is extremely suspicious, and I would feel very unsettled by that if I was definitely with the company. I mean, it's just either, at the end of the day, it's definitely a negative news. You don't ask for investors to help you create like your new flying drone or your new company or whatever. Like if you go and you win money on Dragon's Den, then a year later, like, here, I'm gonna give you your money back. Yeah, like just that's not what they want. They want to keep making money.
I don't know if you win money on Dragon's Den. I think
depends what you negotiate. I feel like there's probably some people that just got straight up like, I'll give you $100,000 right now, cash.
Actually, I think that might have happened once when there was like some kid who was like 10 years old or something on the show, and they're like, yeah, I'll give you 10,000. I don't want any part of your company.
10,000 to fuck off. Kid. That's what they're saying.
You got to be a kid. They will not do that for
10,000 and fuck off. That's what they said. They really didn't like that guy's idea.
It was a very uplifting episode, Taylor. Come on.
Oh, good.
And then of course part of this statement that I thought was funny too was they said, yeah, we also don't plan on doing any more Prince of Persia remakes after this. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. This one has been such a disaster. I don't expect them wanting to sign up to do any more. I guess the one caveat to that would be if this remake sells a shit ton of copies, which I don't think it will, especially after all the turmoil that it's gone through. So there you go. In similar delay news, this one... this is a joke in and of itself, is that Dead Island 2 has been delayed again. Not too long, thankfully, but of course it could happen again. It's happened many times before, but I believe it was February 10th or so. It was like a week before Hogwarts Legacy, which thankfully I'm actually glad with this delay in terms of timing because there's so much stuff coming out in that time frame that I wanted a bit more time. Didn't know if I was going to pick it up. So it got pushed down the road to April 28th. Taylor, I know you're a big fan and you've been looking forward to this one. So is this bum you out as all? Or is it, what are your thoughts on the fact that they're delaying it again after their re-reveal, after all of this stuff?
Yeah, like, looking forward is definitely an interesting term of words these days now for this game. Because, yeah, I was definitely on board at the beginning when they announced it. And now it just went through, it like literally was, dead. And so finally they brought it back. And I thought, okay, this seems like it's got a lot of fuel in the engine. We're going to get it. Yeah. But yeah, sure enough, it's like, no, they bumped it. That's just unbelievable to me. But if they need to take an extra little bit of time to polish the game off, then so be it. People have waited this long. I don't think people are going to be stressing out just to wait a little bit longer to get this because they've been already waiting for probably like most of their kids' age at this time. Like, just, it's been so long. But yeah, I love the first one. I really do. I've had a lot of fond memories with that first game, and it's hopefully not going to be permanently delayed. Like if we get to another point, you're like, yeah, we're delaying it again and again and again, because then we're just rinse and repeat. So
it's good that they actually picked a date here, even though those dates feel almost meaningless at this point with how things have been going. But it's nice that 2.5 months. It's not too bad.
Yeah, if they start refunding copies, then I think we'll be in hot water.
That would be a different story.
Move to a different studio.
How about you, Kirk? Any thoughts? Are you like in on Dead Island? I think we've talked about this before, but are you interested in the sequel at all?
I've never played was it just the one?
Just
I
the
guess
one.
if this is the
I think there was
second
a
one.
Riptide. I think was like a low key expansion or something.
I want to say that was an expansion rather than a sequel. It might have been a different SKU. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I really like zombie games. I think it's a fun genre, and that one it was kind of open, right? Like, is that the general concept? Like, you can kind of go around, do whatever, almost like Dead Rising to an extent, but probably more open because you're not
and co-op
in a mall
too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I remember remember back in the day, you go to your library in school and there's like the Xbox magazines, and you just like read through those of the games and stuff. Again, dating myself here, dating all of us, but like just seeing like the screenshots and everything. I remember just being like, oh, this game looks sweet, but I just never got my hands on it. So. Yeah, I feel like that ship's just sailed on me. So,
fair enough. Moving along, then, Supermassive, who is doing the Dark Pictures anthology right now, the anthologist himself is here. They've been releasing all sorts of stuff. They did Until Dawn, Man of Medan. They had The Quarry earlier this year, which Taylor reviewed here on Sidequest, and go back check that out. Now there's some other one in there that I'm forgetting, maybe even a couple more. They've done a lot of them now. But the next one is finally been revealed here. It's called Directive 8020. And this is a pretty big pivot, I would say, because it's kind of a space sci-fi. It's very much a teaser, so you don't get a full vibe. But to me, it seems like it's going to be set in space, maybe on a space station. That seems like, ripe for horror, thriller sort of experiences that these games are. So throwing it to Taylor first, since you loved The Quarry earlier this year. What do you think about this setting? Is this what you're looking for from this developer, or did you like that kind of more grounded, maybe more classic 80s thriller slasher sort of setting?
Yeah, for me, The Quarry is the top of the line. It's hard to beat that because I think it just capitalized on the classic horror vibe. But playing some of the other Dark Pictures games now, because me and Madison have dived into what is that name of that one? The Man of Medan. I can never pronounce it very well. Yeah, and we played a little bit of the I can't remember the name of the other. I'm butchering this right now, but the other one where you're dealing with the boat. No,
that's PlayStation exclusive.
That's exclusive.
Yeah, there's another newer one that
The Devil in Me. I just saw it on my Steam. Yeah,
that one I will be getting at some point. I'm hoping. I doubt it'll go on sale for Boxing Day, but just in case it does, I will absolutely pick that out because I really want to play it. So far, like these anthology stories have really been jiving well with me, and I'm really enjoying it too because Madison's not a gamer, but she's definitely able to click the buttons and just maneuver around and do things in this, which is great. And it's really made some funny moments occur, but this looks so awesome. I was not expecting it to drop as like their season 2 kicker, and it gave me severe vibes of Dead Space meets Alien
Sure.
Isolation, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be so cool. I can't wait to get in here and see what we're about to experience. So this is probably a day one. I wouldn't even wait for a sale for
Wow,
this. Like this one
cool.
has me so pumped.
You know, it's funny that I feel like the meme earlier this year at Jeff Keighley's thing and Xbox Showcase and all this is that like, man, everything is a space horror game right now. So it's funny that their next game just happens to be that as well. Taylor, with this being the kickoff of season 2, I know these are of course the anthology games, so each one is its own thing. But do you expect them to keep season 2 to be more in that same setting, or do you think they'll just kind of do one-off space sort of game and then back to the Earth for the rest of the season?
I feel like it could get very repetitive quickly if they did another space one. So I think they have to tread carefully because when you look at all these games, Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, you have that same old narrative or Alien Isolation again, that same narrative of you just being on a spaceship and there is a unknown thing moving around and you just have to navigate through the ship to get out. And how many times over can you do that? And what happens if you branch off from that? Like maybe you're trapped on a planet and it's just a change of environment and scenery, which would be okay, but you have to tread carefully. I think that using that environment to your advantage is the way to do it, and just really playing around with the context of the situation could work. And I hope that we do get really out of the box, unorthodox type horror styled space levels or anthology stories after this. I really do. I think jumping back to the grounded thing is safe, and I would totally be okay with that. But I just think there's a lot of potential by exploring more of the space dynamic and keeping in line with that horror theme. Like the devil in me just being like trapped in this, I believe you're in this hotel and you're just dealing with a serial killer kind of thing or whatnot, keeping people. I think I might be butchering
What is
how
the
I
setting of
understood
Man
it.
of Medan again?
Man of Medan.
Because
Let
that's
me
one you said
pull it up.
you've played or were
Yeah,
playing.
I'm hoping that's the one I'm playing. I might be getting it confused with.
It's crazy
the
how much
other
like
one.
output this this developer has for these things. Like, I know they're maybe more simpler on the gameplay side of things, and they, are kind of just probably using the same engine for all these. But it's still very impressive how much stuff they're putting out here. That
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it confused. Okay, Man of Medan is the one that me and Madison are going to be getting into.
Okay.
We're still finishing off Little Hope. That's the other
Little
one.
Hope, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where we are.
Gotcha. Kirkland, where are you at with the Dark Pictures anthology and any interest in Directive 8020?
I mean, the idea sounds pretty intriguing. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm just a coward. I feel like I want someone to like, I want what Taylor Madison's got going through those. Shay doesn't like horror movies or anything like that, so she wouldn't be the best partner in that situation.
Come on over. You can play. You can play with us.
Yeah, you got room under the blankets for me. It always was like fascinating to me. It was Until Dawn the first one because I remember when that one came out and I really was intrigued about it, and then I think like I was so intrigued about it I like almost want to throw it on one of the 24-hour streams, but it's not a 2 a.m. type of game. I think I probably would have fell asleep along with everyone else in that room. But I feel like I kind of didn't even realize that it was the same maker doing all these and like the Dark Picture anthology series. So that's really cool that they're just still getting enough support to pump these out, and it's really cool. I didn't realize the Quarry was in that same banner, but that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's I don't know, not something I'm really going out chasing, but it's cool that they have them.
Yeah, the developer, I just kind of realized this, but Supermassive is their name, which I know Supermassive, a black hole is like a classification of black holes. So I wonder if their name is like, a reference to that, in which case it is interesting that they are going to space now, because that is potentially what their studio is, named after in part. So.
And you guys were mentioning the season thing. Did all the games have that, where it like was additional content or something along the lines of that?
I think that's. Well, I don't know. What do you mean exactly?
Because you guys were mentioning something about seasons and
yeah.
I
I almost feel like that was a retro. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor, but I think it's more of a retroactive thing. Where I guess Until Dawn would be part of. Or is that not the Dark Pictures anthology?
That's not part of the Dark Pictures anthology, because Until Dawn and the Quarry, they're worked on by Supermassive, but they're like their own separate things, and then the anthology, Dark Pictures anthology, those are like, okay, these are specific stories and games created for this bubble. And then the season 2, I feel like that is an afterthought because they didn't think they alluded to any of that.
Yeah, I could not
before.
have told you that those previous games were like the season 1 of
Yeah.
this, but maybe maybe it's just like a sales thing. They didn't know how these things would go, but now that they're doing well, pretty popular, they're releasing I think like 2 a year essentially. So they're able to keep that output going and classify it into a season, which also makes sense because it is a very narrative-y kind of almost TV show sort of thing. So it makes sense to kind of use that film terminology, I guess, for it. So I think that I think it's just maybe a bit of a way to organize it. But yeah, it sounds like not all of their games are part of it, so it is a bit confusing. I'm with you on that, Kirkland.
Right on.
Okay, there you go. I think from here, what we're going to do is take our last ad break of the day, and then we'll get back and talk about Warzone 2. We are back. So we had a good conversation about Call of Duty there earlier, but we got to talk about Warzone 2. And so the reason we did this as a separate episode is truthfully because I thought you guys were going to do your Call of Duty review a lot earlier than you did. Ended up being just a couple days before this. So whatever, things happen. It's all good. More content for the viewers, more conversations, all that good stuff. So let's talk about Warzone 2 here. So yeah, I mean, I think for me, when it came into this, when they even announced Warzone 2, I was like, what is the point? Like, why is Warzone not just one persistent thing? Your new Fortnite, and they can release their new Call of Duty games, but then you stick within the Warzone moniker and add new features and all that kind of stuff. But I think I can very quickly throw that thought out because this does feel like a lot more to me than just a new map. There's a lot more. It's those new mechanics that you guys are talking about, of like hanging on ledges, things like that. But like the game plays differently. It just feels different to move around, and then even just like the objectives on the map, the things you'll find, the weapons, the vehicles, like there is maybe going to be some repeat stuff in there, but for the most part it truly does feel like a very different experience. Now it's still Call of Duty, so it's still an iterative Call of Duty game. It's not going to be a completely different genre or anything, but to me I think this is worthy of the name Warzone 2, and I'm sure by the end of its life cycle there'll be new maps, those Godzilla timed events, things like that.
Give it to me.
That they'll throw in there as well. So far I'm enjoying it, but I don't think I'm not as familiar with it as Warzone 1 yet, so I feel like I haven't gotten my groove yet. Whereas I feel like by the end, after we played a lot of Warzone, we really we knew exactly where we're going to go on the map. Taylor would go get his helicopter. We'd go get those things that would show you the next zone. We'd do multiple of those. We'd get our loadouts, and we feel like we just got it down to a science, whereas now I'm like throwing back into it and it's very loose and I'm still kind of getting my bearings. But what are your guys' kind of early impressions of Warzone 2, and specifically like compared to the experience of Warzone 1? I'll throw it to Taylor first. How you feeling about this, Taylor?
Right out of the gate, and it's probably maybe a little bit of nostalgia or whatnot, but I was just drawn back to Warzone 1. I liked how simple it felt, and I liked just the ease to it, and not in terms of necessarily being easy, but just how the UI was and just how everything felt and functioned. It just felt like it was a much more streamlined, smooth, cohesive kind of game. And with this, it was definitely a learning curve to kind of understand what's going on at to start. Half the time, like you're saying, like, oh, you're leaving money behind. And I think that's like because like I don't notice it, or I'm not like picking it up properly. I have to change my settings so that I like you tap and pick up, because I think I'm holding down and picking up, which is problematic. But yeah, there's just, I love the attention to detail where cash registers have things, go into a bathroom and there's stims and stuff like that, which makes it very cool to scavenge. But at the end of the day too, I feel like compared to the other Warzone, this one is much more a survival. Like you need your team, you need to work together. But at the same time, I feel like other teams are set up so much more better than when we were playing, and it gets to be a bit of a deterrent, because I feel like, okay, I can't even get my proper loadout, my guns. I don't really know what I'm trying to piece together here. Like it's just, I feel like half the time I'm running on empty. And when we finish our session, we're like, okay, I'm gonna go and actually like soothe my soul with some multiplayer sessions and get some kills. But yeah, I hope that they kind of refine a little bit more, because I do really enjoy it, and I do enjoy playing with you guys. So I think that they need to make it a little bit more echoed of that first Warzone to a degree. I don't feel like it needed to be such a huge overhaul. I feel like the the map is one thing, the guns, everything like that is another thing. But to upgrade the engine, the gameplay, it totally makes sense why we got this new Warzone at the end of the day, and I totally sympathize and support that. I will get used to it, and I will get more into the groove of it. But yeah, until then, I definitely miss Warzone 1 a little bit.
You reinstalled it yet, or do you got to uninstall Avengers for that?
Probably uninstall Avengers.
It is a tall task to have 2 Call of Duties on your console at one time. That's a lot of
Plus
gigabyte
Avengers.
going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like I am still really positive on it, but Taylor does bring up a lot of good points where I feel like this is, I don't know what version. I'm just going to call it 1.0. It might be like 1.01 or something, but like it feels like the first version of Warzone. And once you like accept that, it's like, okay, this is what we got. You know, it's the first one out the gate. I think a lot of things in it are absolutely terrible and like quality of life that they just need to change. And I feel like they probably did that in early Warzone. I just forget because, you know, we played so much of like the recent versions, like where they probably, like I said, fix those little quality of life things that just aren't quite there. Like right off the gate, I'll just shout out pinging. It is so much harder to see like pings on the map. Whereas the old one, like, you know, they changed the compass. I do think the compass in the new one is better than the last installment, but still, it was just so much easier to see. It's like, okay, yeah, no, I see exactly where your ping is. It's not like, can you ping it? It's like, dude, I did. It's like, well, where is it? Like, I
They
can't
disappear really quickly.
Yeah.
And as far as I could tell, there was nothing in the settings to make it better.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone could tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I tried to look around. There's nothing I could see.
Yeah, exactly. And like with the loot, it feels very much more so. What was it called, Taylor? The other Call of Duty Warzone Blackout? Is that what it was?
Blackout, yeah.
I remember the loot was just. It seemed a lot more similar to what this one was. I didn't play a lot of Blackout. I think I just tried it, dipped my toes, and probably died once and just gave up on it. But
That's a good comparison. Like, it is very much like Blackout, and I feel like having a backpack in this setting, it doesn't work. Like, if you're in that final circle and you're trying to pop your second self revive over, like,
well, that's
Nah.
just. I mean, I feel like that's a situation thing. I am more positive on the backpacks because I can like just carry more shit that I need to. Whether
That's
it's like,
fair.
oh, I have 2 backpacks here, or 2 backpacks. You can't carry 2 backpacks, but it's like I got 2 self revives here, and Dylan's like 500 meters that way. Well, I can just pick this up as opposed to pinging it, and he probably won't even get to
That's
it, right?
true.
Because we'll be done in that sense. So. Like it's weird though because I can understand both sides of the arguments. I think as of right now I'm okay with it, but I would probably be just more satisfied playing multiplayer right now because I have access to it. And if we were really like wanting to just have a full night of like let's get wins and whatnot, like I probably would nominate just Rebirth Resurgence, which was Warzone 1, and like that being said,
We
like,
got to get one win in this first, though.
Oh,
I
it
feel
will.
like
We'll get it.
just one, and then but I feel like once we get that 1-2, we're gonna like, oh, we've tasted it now.
That's
We're
true.
gonna,
Yeah.
you
This
know,
game's awesome. So much better than Rebirth. Yeah. So, and like, again, I feel like a lot of my complaints that I would have for it, it's like, let's just wait. Like, let's just let it stew. The game just came out like full release less than a month ago for the main game. Warzone was just what, a week ago or like it is very recent. So I'm totally gonna just give them the benefit of the doubt that they will fix it. But like the stuff that is in there, I first of all, I really like the new map. I think all like the water implements and the boats and stuff, that's really fun. And man, like, we didn't get a win, but just like sitting in that heavy chopper and we're just like holding it down, like air
so
superiority, and you're just like getting headshots with your sniper. Like that was so much fun. And like, we didn't get a win there, but like still I had a lot of good times with that. So that's something that wasn't in Warzone 1. So I do like all of those changes. We didn't even really play around with the boats or whatnot yet. So there's still so much
There was
juice.
a boat. That's
Yeah. And there's armored boats that it's probably like the equivalent of
Crazy.
the heavy chopper. So there's still so much juice that I've yet to squeeze out of that big old fruit that is Warzone 2. But initial thoughts, it's like, okay, they're not quite there as to like the refinedness of what Warzone 1 was, but I like the changes that they're having and the overall just like engine of the game. I like the way that the game feels in general. Again, that's kind of more so on my overall thoughts of Modern Warfare 2 2022 version, but it carries over in Warzone. It's worth a mention. So yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about the map first of all, because this is of course I would say the most important part of it. This once again the map size here, it feels to me like quite comparable to Verdansk. Is that what it's called? Hell,
Yeah.
hell, my mind is
Yep.
We were
Caldera.
talking about
that was,
Kino
like, the
der
other
Toten
one.
and all this stuff earlier. Like all the Call of Duty names are jumbled in my head now. But it feels about the same size as that, I want to say.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of it so far? I mean, Kirkland, you did mention that you like it. I think for me, one thing so far is, familiarity obviously is a big part with it, but I'm almost feeling like it's a bit monotonous like every area kind of feels the same to me right now. Whereas I can think of Verdansk and you kind of had the dam and that whole northern area up top. The kind of the farmland way out on the east side, along the port, that kind of thing, the busy downtown area, the shipyard in the way was kind of more open on that side. Like I feel like there's a lot more kind of distinct areas, both visually and then kind of mechanically. So I'm sure mechanically this still has it, and we just gotta play with it more. But in terms of the visuals of it, it's I don't know. I guess it's a bit more. Almost like a 360 game where it's like, okay, we got like a simple color palette here. We got 5 colors that we're dealing with here. But yeah,
Yeah.
what any more thoughts on the just map as an overall thing?
I mean, yeah, like I mentioned, I do really like it. We didn't really explore, like you mentioned that already. Like we haven't gotten familiar with all the different nooks and crannies like we did in Verdansk. All the different games that we played of that one. But like there is still like sky rises in this map. It's just like we didn't really get there at all. I feel like we went there maybe once on that one game.
That one match.
That we got
I went
close.
there in one of those games.
Yeah. So and again, like I feel like just the more, I don't know, like right now I would compare it more so to Caldera versus Verdansk in my head, just because I feel like the things that you mentioned, Dylan, like if I'm on one side of the map, I feel like I can see like where the arena is, but because this one has like a big like high elevation, it seems to in the central area of the map.
There's a couple different mountains. Yeah.
Like it seems like if you're on the ground, there is areas where it just seems like you're in the dunes, and you're like, this, like I almost feel lost here, And I don't know, maybe that's just like the spacing of like out of it, where it is a little bit harder, especially if you're like a lower elevation. I don't know. There's probably so many different factors on why it feels the way it feels, but it's also, I don't know if it's like the exact same map, but like Al Mazrah, I think that is like what they use for the spec op mode. So I like it just, again, like another area that you can get familiar with it, or like DMZ, that's that other, I think, free version of the game that I haven't played yet, but I think it's also Al Mazrah, and I like how the map, similar thing to what like the old one had, or Warzone 1, where different areas of the maps are like different kind of takes on multiplayer maps. I don't know if you can confirm or deny that, Taylor, but certain areas, they just seem very familiar from like whether I'm playing Ground War or something like that. I don't know if it's the exact same or if they just plop that area somewhere on Al Mazrah.
Well, I remember even on like Warzone 1 had that area, that shipwreck area, which structurally had like some similar design elements to that map from Modern Warfare 2, I think.
Scrapyard, I think.
Yeah,
it was,
Scrapyard.
Yeah.
So they definitely do a bit of that. So I'm sure that they, a little bit of copy pasting going on with changing a few details, because obviously this map's huge, and I'm sure Spec Ops is not, but.
There is they have shipment in Al Mazrah as well. The shipment level, yeah.
Nice.
So there's a
I
few.
love that.
Gotcha. Taylor, what do you think about the map, specifically how it compares to? I guess Verdansk as the other big one. How big is Caldera relative? Because I never actually played that one.
I think it's the same size.
It's probably
maybe
the same size,
slightly smaller, but yeah, pretty comparable, I would imagine.
What's your ranking? Give me your ranking of these 3 maps.
I'll go first. Verdansk number 1. If we're including Rebirth, like that's like another mode.
There's
again.
2 more maps
a
though with
different map.
Rebirth, right? Because there was the small scale one.
Oh yeah, there was. I forgot about that. Maybe we'll just compare the big ones then.
Compare the big ones. Yeah, big
Verdansk number 1, and then Al Mazrah, and then Caldera.
Okay.
Caldera came out like after Rebirth, and that was that thing where it's like, oh, let's try out the new map, and then you just play. You see like one guy, and then you die, and then you're spectating a friend. Classic Warzone things. If you're bad, and then it's like, let's just go play Rebirth. So I never really captured the love for Caldera.
Yeah, I would probably put Verdansk number 1 for sure. And I'm inclined to put Caldera number 2, probably just because when we got that Resurgence Godzilla versus Kong mode, and I really got to kind of indulge in it, I was like, okay, this is a pretty good map. I do like it a lot with what they had.
You throw King Kong on there, Godzilla. Taylor's sold on your map.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love just the World War II kind of theme and the aesthetic that it had. It was very cool, but yeah, when you look at Al Mazrah, Like it's definitely gonna probably sneak in there at number 2 pretty quick because I just need to explore it a little bit more. I like how it echoes Verdansk in some aesthetics, where you have the cityscape and the buildings that you can go into and all that jazz. Caldera was very open, which made it very difficult to deal with certain situations. So this being more building oriented and stuff like that is very nice. And I don't feel like it's too compromising to go from like one location like Rohan Oil over to the next location over off to the side adjacent to it, which is kind of nice. But again, you are subject to being in sticky situations. Like when we thought we're on the one skyscraper when we were playing and we parachuted over in that circle close, land on top of another building. We thought, okay, this is really good for us. Pop that UAV and we see there's like 100 people right underneath us, and all we could do was glide into the water. Not ideal, but that's Warzone at its core. So
It's true. Yeah, I guess another. I don't know if this is new, but it's at least new for me. Is that they have sometimes, and it's not every game, but sometimes they'll have like I guess 3 circles that'll drop in different spots in the map, and then eventually those either converge. Maybe there's like a bridge that forms between them, or they just like move into each other. I guess I don't know if that's really. I don't know if I feel like that's really affected the game a whole lot. I almost feel like that's on paper it is different, but it doesn't actually really change the way the game is played. Now maybe we have to see it more because, as I said, it's not every match that it's doing that. So that's another element that I guess changes up the way you interact with the map too. So I definitely want to get more used to this water stuff because, as Kirkland mentioned, like I do like the swimming around, and you can like go under the water if you want to, try and avoid being seen. Of course, it's very limiting in terms of your options. But yeah, the boats is something I've not interacted with. But I think that is a cool part of the map that feels like it's more integrated into like your strategy and when you're moving, especially when the circle's closing in a spot where the water becomes like a bigger percentage of it and you have to deal with it. That's kind of an interesting challenge. So I wonder if you could just hide underwater and like win by like getting other people smoked out by just like hide, because I don't know if you can breathe underwater forever. You probably can't, but
No,
you can't. No,
maybe they'll implement like a scuba where they have like gas masks, and then you can find like a scuba mask. That could be
I
interesting.
wouldn't put it
Underwater
past them.
harpoons.
I really wouldn't. There is loot underwater that you can find, so
ooh,
And then just wait. There's going to be like a megalodon crossover event.
Oh.
and it'll get you.
sign me
And
up.
then Taylor's going to put this at number 1 on his list.
Oh yeah, that's all it takes.
The other thing too is we talked about this where I feel like there's more players in this than like Verdansk or something. But once again, it's like a small amount. I don't know if I really know. Like it doesn't feel like, oh man, there's people everywhere now. It kind of has, since the map's similar in size. I don't know if I really noticed that. Kirkland, you were talking about the things that bother you. I think you mentioned all those little like things that you were bugged by. The one I wanted to mention too was I'm finding, like, if there's like 2 things right next to each other, I find it really hard to pick up the one that I want to pick up. Like it's like I don't know if it's just not precise enough, or it's like maybe I want to switch out this ammo type, but there's like a gun next to it, and I keep picking up that gun over and over again. Like it's just this annoying hot potato
it's so
moment.
annoying.
Yeah, so I don't know. They need to refine that. I don't know. It's like if I'm pointing at this thing, I want to pick that up. Even if this other thing's hitbox is bigger, please let me pick up the thing I want.
It seems like too, like when the box opens, the items just go stacked on top of each other. Where again, for like comparing to the first Warzone, like they actually separated, and like you're not just forced to pick up all of them and then drop what you don't want. And even maybe I'm just getting used to the map or not the map, the backpack system. But I feel like if I'm picking up, if I'm looting someone else's backpack and then it's like I just want their gun, it's like, where do you want it? I'm like, well, clearly I just want to fucking pick it up because like I'm dropping the gun that I have for it. Like it's a little bit annoying there. And again, maybe I just need to get better at navigating it. If you listen to our review, and I was kind of mentioning like the UI of the menu, I was just really struggling with at first, and now that I understand it does make sense. So maybe it is that, but just when you open a box and all the items stack on top of each other, if there's like a riot shield, like you have no idea what's underneath of that. So definitely something that they need to change there. And another, like and just again going on the loot system, I feel like it was the money, obviously it's like smaller bundles, so I understand it's not going to be like a huge wad of cash, but it seemed like everything was just so much bigger and brighter in Warzone 1 regarding like the loot, so you knew exactly what was there. So you wouldn't have Taylor Field running by and missing $1,000, and money's so hard to find in this game compared to the other ones. So like really all those little bundles, they do matter when you're trying to save up for a loadout or whatnot. I think the interacting of loot and whether it's backpack managing, all that stuff. Like I've played shit ton of Warzone. I should know how to drop money. I was still just like, what button do I hit to like drop ammo or whatnot? Like it just, I don't know. Like they've done this already before. I get it. You want to innovate and whatnot, but like I feel like this should have been cleaner out the gate.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I feel like too sometimes they'll put items on like a really high shelf, so you just like can't visually see what it is. They have to like jump, and it's super janky. It's like I don't know why that was a decision. Why that can be a spot that loot could be. It's very strange. Yeah. As for the backpacks, I remember when I first played Warzone 1, I was very confused by that. If I ever had to drop money or drop ammo, it took me so long to learn how to do that. It's a very simple thing, but just like, okay, I got to hit down on the D-pad and like cruise over to it. I can drop one stack, all of it. It was a bit confusing, and so I think now the backpack obviously is just like more slots, so it's taking some getting used to. But the idea of it is pretty cool, and you can really load up for that end game. But I also think that sometimes if you spend a lot of time screwing around with your inventory and then you just like die and then you don't get that stuff, it's like, oh god, that was just annoying. Why did I even mess around with that? What else do we want to bring up here? So the gulag is a bit different. I quite like this. I think this is a good change where you kind of have like a little 2-on-2 fights. I almost wish it would prioritize or let you, because obviously you want to do your fight immediately so you can maybe get back in. But I much prefer a battle when like you and your buddy can be in the gulag together. But if you don't die at the same time, then you'll be you'll get queued up with some other random guy. I kind of like doing that too, where you just like, okay, I'm gonna let this guy go. I'm gonna follow him, let him die, and then I'm gonna clean up the kill behind him. So some fun strategies there. And then I guess they have like, what is the prisoner? What's his name again?
The jailer.
The jailer, yeah.
The jailer will show up. I don't think I care much for the jailer thing, but I like the little arena they have there. So I think the gulag that to me seems like a good improvement.
I feel like it would be so hard to coordinate like with the enemy team to kill the jailer. So.
Proximity chat, right?
I guess so.
Don't do it, bud.
Don't kill me.
Kill him.
It's like, oh, I won't kill you, and he turns, and then you just immediately shoot him. Like, yeah, come on, I'm going for the easy kill there. But I agree with Dylan. I do think this is a better change of having the 2v2. Because I get it. I do like the thrill of having some of those 1v1s. I've gotten bopped so many times. I don't know if the split's 50-50 or whatnot, but there's times when I'm popping off, and there's times when I cannot hit anyone for any reason. And there's some people that just really love the strategy of the game versus playing like just whoever's quicker on the draw or whatnot. So it is kind of nice having a 2v2, because I'm not going to say you're going to rely on your teammate, but you get one extra guy there. Sometimes they'll just leave the game instantly, and then you're like, fuck, 2v1, here we go. But I don't know, it's a better change, and again, it's building upon what they had from the gulag of the first game. So I like it. Next Warzone, are we getting 3v3s? We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, team deathmatch in the gulag.
It's just a 6v6. You're just playing multiplayer.
I'm a big fan of back in 2019's Modern Warfare when they dropped the small tourneys kind of thing, the 2v2v2 bracket system. It was such a rush and super super fun. So whenever we get like this newly implemented 2v2 gulag, I love it. It's really really nice, and I hope that they kind of keep on refining a little bit more. I like the notion of, if we team up on the jailer, we can all get out of here. I think it's pretty cool. But as far as gulags go, I think it's pretty thrilling. I've had one instance where they gave us shotguns instead of pistols, and I think that's depends on what stage you die at. If you die later on, and because when you win in the gulag, you take that gun with you into the main game, which is kind of nice.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so I think that is just kind of help you along. Like, oh, you won, and there's like 40 people left. This 3 glass closes the game. Here, you're gonna have this shotgun to kind of help you.
That's a good change as well.
I did notice that there is like loot on the ground, like near the jailer. I don't know if it's there for every gulag match, but usually now I'll gun it for that zone, because it's not like a Barrett 50 cal like a good gun, but it like sometimes they'll just be like an extra lethal. So like if you already threw your grenade, you could pick up another frag grenade or something like that.
You're running for the dodgeballs in the center line of the
that's essentially what it is. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Kirkland, you mentioned this earlier. What was it called? The chopper? What is the name for it? Is it just
the heavy chopper?
The heavy chopper.
The chunky
so I guess
boy.
just to explain for anyone who hasn't played, but like rather than you just getting in the side of the plane and you're just like kind of locked in this one spot, it's just you can have free movement. The other thing that I really like about this too is that you can like drop things, so you and your teammates can like exchange inventory stuff while you're here, which I think is a great change, because that's kind of something that sucks about being locked in a vehicle, is like unless you're driving, usually there's some combat that can go on, but usually if you're in the back seat, you're just kind of chilling, doing nothing for a bit. It'd be nice if you could exchange inventory stuff with teammates, and obviously this allows you to do that. But it's also just so fun strategically with like the very limited, either the windows or the doors and the back entrance, because it doesn't feel overpowered, but it still like is super fun to have your squad of 4 people. Also, I guess the gas, having limited fuel is a thing they've added in here too. So it adds. It also like it just naturally kind of nerfs you a bit where you have to go down and refuel at times like this, and then we can't just. I guess we in theory can't just cheese the helicopter until the very end zone, which we've done many times before. It was always a fun strategy. So that might be my like individual favorite addition. Like that is just such a cool thing, and obviously Taylor loves flying around, so to give him another thing to fly around is a good addition as well. When we were playing, you guys were either confused or hadn't quite figured out the loadouts yet, and that you could like get a loadout, but you weren't getting all your perks. You weren't getting a second gun. What was that issue you guys were having? And did you figure that out, or is that still ongoing?
Yeah, you go.
I was just gonna say there's 3 ways you can get your loadout. Either by the crates dropping on the map.
Yeah.
You do the stronghold engagements, and you will get your loadout that way for your team. Or you buy the primary loadout gun only through the store. You don't get
so you
access
get no
to anything
perks
else.
or anything, right? You don't get secondaries. Yeah,
Just your
so that's
primary.
a big change there.
Okay. Yeah, I have so few things unlocked that like I put some like basic, loadout together, but I guess I wouldn't really notice if I'm not getting something in there because I don't have a whole lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
What else? I guess my question for you guys is, you're a bit less hot on this than I guess for Dance, Rebirth Island. So what would be like your top, I don't know, you don't have to do a top 3 or anything, but like what would be your top list? Like what are the changes you really want to see? Obviously with the UI things or like, picking up gear, we want that to be a bit refined and pings, but is there any like bigger changes that you really want that you think would, because obviously you guys have the full game, so you can just play regular multiplayer, and it sounds like you guys, if you had the choice, you'd go there instead of this right now. So what do you think would be any changes that would bring you over to Warzone 2 rather than playing that regular multiplayer?
I think a big one that Taylor mentioned already too, or maybe it was while we were playing it, was just like the fact that in Warzone 1, you can just play again and go to another game, whereas now you always have to go to the main menu. And again, like,
oh, interesting.
It can take some time to get into a lobby when the what's the player count? It's like 100
154, I believe, is this time.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like obviously the bigger the player count, the longer your queues are going to be in theory, which I don't know. It seems like a bit longer, maybe not too bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people are playing right now. It's launch weekend.
And like it didn't seem like we were waiting a long time, but still, like it was significantly faster from Warzone 1 when you're just like instantly like, you lose, you swallow that pill, and then you're just like loading to the next game, and that's it. Bob's your uncle. So I think that's something that, again, like there's no reason that they wouldn't add that again, because they had that in the first game. Don't exactly know why they didn't have it in it already, but again, I'll give them a pass for right now. But that's like the first big one, and I don't know, like maybe it's just like their decision around like, oh yeah, we want to do Warzone this way, but it is, and like Dylan, you mentioned that because you don't really have unlocks right now, like the loadout's don't do much for you, but I just it just seems so annoying that I like don't ever get my loadouts in a game. It's just like it seems like I'll never get it, and where those loadout crates are, they're usually so far away from you. And in Warzone 1, it may, and again, like maybe this is just a creative decision, they wanted to change things up for Warzone 2, but when that first zone closed, your loadout would drop fairly close to where your team was. So like it you'd still kind of have to fight for it because there'd be a couple other loadouts there that other teams are going for. But it just seems now at some random point in the game, an AC-130 comes by and it just like drops a bunch of loadouts in the middle of the map in a line, and that's just that. And then unless you do the other things, like I think we did like one stronghold, so maybe that was just something that maybe we need to prioritize a little bit more in our strategy. But it's like I'm never gonna get my loadout gun here, and then I have to drop $5,000 that I just spent like so long scrounging these dollars and like looking in each little nook and cranny of these houses to find like my $100 stacks to equal $5,000, and all I get is one primary. Like, yeah, it's annoying. And then in classic Kirkland fashion, it's like, fuck, I chose the wrong gun. Like now I'm stuck with this, and now I just dropped my $5,000 here, and there's just, I don't know, it's a little bit annoying there where like I get it, it's fun going through the Hunger Games style of collect, like just finding guns and whatnot, but I don't know, it seems and like a lot of the time when I'm interacting with other teams, it just seems like they have full loadouts, like full armor, like everything. It's just like at such a disadvantage right here, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably a lot of people that aren't playing in a full format like we were. And if you're playing like a solo with the other 3 people, if you're not coordinating, like you're probably never getting loadouts or anything like that, which puts you at such a disadvantage. So I don't know. Again, little rant there, but I was a little choked up about that.
I think that's a pretty fair thing to be choked out about because the loadout for me was a big kicker. I really wanted my classes that I constructed on for this situation, and not being able to get them was definitely a bit of a down buzzkill for me. So when you drop that $5,000 on that gun, like you really have to pick and choose how you're going to play when you get in the game. And our mentality is usually we get the most money we can by doing like whatever we can, contracts, whatever. But now I feel like that dynamic has changed. While we were still doing like the safe cracking, I'm thinking, okay, like getting us money, what is that going to do for us ultimately? Because the stores don't even have gas masks anymore. So now we have to really like pick and choose what our engagement will be. We can't get all the kill streaks from stores. We can only get UAVs. So we have to use maybe the right perks to like amplify our looting, and then maybe try those strongholds to get ahead of other teams and stuff like that. So it really forces our hand to change our play style from what we're used to, because money used to be the way of the Warzone 1, but not anymore, it seems like, at least to me.
Yeah, no, it feels like a much less consistent. I feel like before, like every building had like some bucks in there, so that if you just explored a lot, you would find stuff. Where now you can just go like multiple buildings in a row without finding anything. And also, the gas masks. That's a good point, because I also feel like I'm finding them a lot less. I think in Warzone I actually didn't find them very often, but since you could buy them, it was fine. But in this, since you can't do that, I think I found one naturally, and then like one other one dropped from a guy when I killed him or something like that. But yeah, like out of how many games we played, like maybe 8 or 9 games. Having gas mask, only 2 of those, and yes, I'm not making too far, and in the game I don't necessarily need that gas mask, but still that's like a crucial part of the experience. So to make those a lot harder to find is kind of a weird choice for me. So I'm curious what the first couple weeks or month out with the patch notes will be. I'm curious what things they're gonna look to change right away.
I did find a durable gas mask when we're playing, so I think that's cool that they do have different tiers like they did in first Warzone. But I'm hoping that, again, I haven't been to a store in the final couple circle closes, but I'm assuming like the Gulag works, where they change up like from pistols to shotguns in those final few closes, and maybe stores do get new like stock, maybe perhaps. That's what I'm thinking. Like Mario Party.
It seemed like there was room on the UI for more things when you're opening the shop.
And like that's just something that I feel like they could have done a better job of, is like clarifying how that works. Because for me, I don't understand how you find like a precision airstrike, like other than just finding it in like a chest. Because like I was getting rained on by mortar strikes and stuff. I'm like, you can't buy this shit, and like a whole team has this. Like, where did they get this stuff? And I don't know. Like, I probably have to watch a YouTube video or something, which I feel like I shouldn't have to for a game that's free to play. That should be like a really easy barrier to entry for so many different people that are just getting their hands on it. It's really unclear, and I don't know. Come on, guys, get better at that.
Well, yeah, it is weird, because I think that one of the fun things with Warzone for me was, I mean, coming back to Call of Duty, but and like learning all that stuff was very enjoyable. But when it's just like when you get used to it and then they just change things, and then it doesn't really seem to be a great reason for those changes, it is kind of frustrating, because you're like, I liked it the way it was. You change, fix some other problems. You don't change the things that were working already.
I will say, so just to interject here, you mentioned the kill streaks, and you kind of made me think of something in lieu of with the backpacks. It'd be cool for us to kind of exploit really dedicating to our classes. Like someone plays just medic and just loads up on stims and like self revives if they can in their backpack, and just play to that role. Someone loads up on like kill streaks that they keep finding them, get like 5 of these kill streaks, and then we know that guy hangs back and just like
guy that can't 5 kill streaks. That sounds savage.
Just have him like put the fire down. Yeah, just calls in the support. It'd be cool to kind of like, I'm not saying like role play Call of Duty, because we're not going to do that, but just kind of fit
just
the
play
roles.
Battlefield within Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm just gonna like pull in from Jumanji, just designate Travis as my weapon carrier guy. Like, Travis, Give me my rifle.
Yeah, you just have one guy whose entire backpack is full of ammo, and he just like walks around and supplies you with ammo.
Weapon specialist.
Every shot you take, he's like, "Oh, here you go, one at a time."
I
Just
did-
Sticks behind you. Yeah.
I did find out you could carry multiple guns, so you can definitely load
Really?
a third one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really, just
Maybe
like
that's why it was.
with a backpack default. You can just maybe like a smaller one or something. Maybe like a handgun or something.
So you can have up to 3 weapons. You can store up to 12 plates, multiple self revives,
Yeah, you can have
multiple
a lot of armor,
airstrikes.
for sure.
Yeah. So I think basically when you have your gun in your you're carrying your gun in your loadout, you don't choose to drop it, but you can hover over it with your D-pad, and you can choose stow away in like your backpack, and then you can pick up another gun in lieu of that. So you can hold 2 and then a third in your backpack.
So if I guess you would just like, do you have to go in your backpack to put that in the active slot, or would you each time you hit Y to switch weapon? Would it
Yeah,
cycle
'cause
between the
you-
3 of them?
Ooh, I don't think it would cycle because when
that
you
would
use a
actually
kill,
that could be problematic at times. right?
I doubt it cycles. It has to be like when you use a kill streak, you have to actually manually go in and pop the replacement from your backpack into your
Right,
loadout.
into the active
so
slot, yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Cool. Well, if you guys have nothing else, Taylor, I think you had a particular clip you wanted to pull up here. So
Yes, make sure, folks, you're on the YouTube video for this. This is a treat here.
maybe
Yeah,
maybe
forgot
we'll
about
post it on
this,
our
yeah.
TikTok or on the YouTube individually or something like that. People
I
can check it
definitely
out.
will. I absolutely will. Yeah. All right, here we go.
That guy's probably still like, what was he thinking? Like,
Oh,
what was
yeah.
the point of that? He's like, just keeps him up
just
at
in
night.
the replay. I like that you can see him actually look and hone in on what I threw, but he knew it was bullshit. Fuck.
Oh, that decoy.
It just like pops up from the ground and then Taylor stands up. God, that's phenomenal.
And I guess the part of that clip too was like 30 seconds prior. There was that same guy was running in the distance, and Taylor fired a grenade at him and just like completely missing.
25% of the
He
distance
aimed
it
way
traveled.
higher.
Yeah.
It was like he aimed up a little bit. It was like, oh god, that was nowhere close.
Wait, if I could have that back in retrospect, I would have put it behind the rock and deployed it so that he would
that
see
would've been smart.
the thing fly, and he would have shot at that guy. Yeah.
He's just like firing at it. What the fuck is that thing? Taylor shoots another grenade, goes like half the distance.
Oh, good stuff. This was a lot of fun, guys. Talking about a lot of Call of Duty talk today, so that was good. And next week it'll be the 3 of us plus Travis. All of us will be here to do some Game Awards predictions. That will be a lot of fun. The Game Awards is right around the corner. That'll be an exciting time. A lot of good stuff closing out the end of the year here. Thank you for joining me once again. Go back and check out these guys. Did a full review of Modern Warfare 2. And we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.